right, welcome to the show where we share the stories of the many who intersect with our healthcare system but are rarely heard from. My name is Kevin Pho, founder and editor of KevinMD. Today in the show, we have Uzawa Dorio. He's an internal medicine physician, and he wrote the KevinMD article, The Nursing Home Crucible. Gene, welcome to the show.
Kevin, thank you so much for having this platform, this podcast. I just think it's tremendous, but thank you for getting me on board.
And we'll get into your article in a little bit, but first off, can you share your story and journey to where you are today?
You know, I was born in New York, but we came to California where I grew up. I went to school in Mexico, so for some who crossed the border into California, I crossed the border and went to Mexico. And I had to learn a new culture, a new language, and study in a different language. But I was fortunate I was able to get a great education there. Some of it, though, was here back up in the United States, my third and fourth years. So I was mostly in Southern California. And once I graduated, I went to Baylor to do surgery. But because I'm a foreign graduate, even though I'm an American, I had to do a fifth pathway. I don't know if they still have that now, but I had to do that for 1 year at the University of Maryland. So I got experience there, went into a rotating internship at Wayne State doing trauma as well. But I ended up getting into the program here in Southern California at UC Irvine and Long Beach Veterans. And I was there for 3 years and then worked 1 year outside and beyond that, but then opened my own practice in Santa Clarita, which is north of Los Angeles. So I've been here for about almost 35 years practicing, and you know, I've been a doctor for over 40 years now. Mm-hmm. So I look back at some of your podcasts, and I think I'm just about the oldest person that you've had on the show. So not that that's saying much, because age is irrelevant as long as you are practicing good medicine, of course. But you know, it brought me to a state here and a city here where I was able to practice as a private practitioner for all these years. And I've enjoyed that. But I got into writing probably around 20 years ago, just as a little hobby, but it was good enough to have postings and publishing in many different places. So I decided I need to be an advocate. And because at that point, 25, 30 years ago, things were starting to change in medicine. Some of it was really good technology-wise, but some of it, especially the business part, you know, Kevin, were difficult for all of us to handle. And it has subsequently come on to this arena right now that we are facing. So I thank you for allowing all of us to have this platform to be able to discuss these issues that are out there that the American people face and trying to get good health care.
As a private practice physician, as you know, that's a growing minority when it comes to physician jobs. So tell me, with your decades of experience in private practice, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you face?
Oh, there's no doubt, Kevin. It's the bureaucracy that has evolved with the insurance companies, with the government, the regulations that are there. Hey, I'm all for practicing good medicine, but when it came to that paperwork and trying to get care for individuals, and then subsequently realizing that some of that, Kevin, was because other people wanted to make money, and they were making money off our license to practice. And you know, if they were making money and putting it back into the system, I'm fine. But when they're making money and putting it into their pocket, I'm not fine. And that's what's been going on. That's been the biggest challenge, I think, for those who have went into practice like myself. Now, you know that private practice and even a solo practice is not a wide arena now. It used to be you go through your residency program and boom, you know, you're into a practice somewhere with a group or in solo. And I went solo. But to continue doing that and achieving that, the big thing that I found, at least being a private practitioner, an asset, was I was able to continue making good medical decisions for my patients, not based on their insurance, not based on their money that they have, but based on what their needs are. Mm-hmm. And those are important to me, and I think important for all of us. But I have the flexibility still to be able to practice in a way that benefits my patients.
All right, so let's transition into the KevinMD article that you wrote. It's titled "The Nursing Home Crucible." Now, for those who didn't get a chance to read that article, can you just walk my audience through it and share the story of why you decided to write it?
Well, in practice, most of my patients are geriatric. When I first came to Santa Clarita, I was already doing house calls, and I continue to do house calls to this day. And it's probably 99% of my practice is going to people's homes. So I knew that when patients were hospitalized, that there are deficits in trying to take care of people at home. I realized trying to get lab tests, trying to get x-rays, trying to do ultrasounds, trying to get nursing care in, physical therapists, occupational therapists, all those I was having trouble doing. And I knew and realized that some of them would end up in nursing homes, which they did. And so in writing the article, I wanted to make sure that people understood the mentality of being in a nursing home. And I wanted to put their shoes in that nursing home so they would understand what especially our seniors and disabled are facing. But that wasn't quite out there. I mean, there have been anecdotal stories by individuals, but I wanted to give it from a doctor's perspective of someone going to nursing homes for almost 35 years. My understanding and recognition of the problems that they would face in nursing homes was gigantic. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted the public to see that, one. Secondly, I wanted to point out how we can keep people in their own homes in the best way possible and what we need to do to move forward in that. And thirdly, I wanted to point out the problems related to trying to get people into a thought process of how to improve nursing homes that exist right now. So it was threefold, my attempts to get that understanding out there. And, I tried my best to put an article that would encompass all of that without, tearing things apart and trying to build it back up. It's that's a difficult thing to do. I wanted to put it into the patients, the caregivers, and the nurses and physicians who take care of patients and try to avoid nursing homes if possible.
Now, can you paint us a picture or tell us a story of something that you would like my audience to know about nursing homes from your perspective?
The main thing is, Kevin, they're human beings. They're not just numbers. They're family members, their moms, their dads. They've done things in society and contributed in the armed forces, in industry, in business, and as doctors even. These are human beings, and I want people to understand you're not just taking a person who needs to heal from a hospital and they need to find a place to heal. You're putting them into a place where they have to find a comfort zone. And that comfort zone, Kevin, I will tell you, I was there day before yesterday doing my nursing home rounds, and the majority of individuals, they're not at all in their comfort zone when they're in a nursing home. We have to make it available. How we do that, is it going to cost more money? I think as I looked at myself, the numbers and the calculations, I think it's cheaper to have people at home, in their own home, taking care of them there, as opposed to putting them in nursing homes. But the thought process is, let's go the easy route and slide them down into a nursing home. And to me, that's not humane. And we have to change this thought process of how we're going to, as we get older, how we're going to live life. The biggest fear, I will tell you, Kevin, not one of my patients ever in 40 years, not one has ever said, Dr. Dorio, please send me to a nursing home. Mm-hmm. Not one. And so I know that we can do better. I know we can do it financially better and especially healthcare-wise better. So that's the whole objective of what I was trying to do and get that message across to the medical students, to the residents, also the hospitals and those who are pushing patients and sliding them into a nursing home situation where it's not good for them nor healthy for them.
Now, can you go into a little bit more detail about some of the challenges that nursing homes across the country face?
The nursing homes face tremendous challenges financially. How do you survive in a business that doesn't get support by government, doesn't reimburse you well? And then you have to cut the corners. And nobody benefits from that. The patients themselves lose. And when you don't have a library, when you don't have computer room, when you don't have a kitchen, when you don't have things that people had at their home, you're in trouble. So it's a challenge for these nursing homes to survive. And then there's some business people who have taken advantage of the nursing homes and yanked out all the profits for themselves, which is really sad. Do we need to regulate nursing homes? Well, I think if physicians played a greater role in understanding the dynamics of nursing homes will do better. But unfortunately, most people don't understand it. And I think we have to move from this lack of understanding, utilizing it only as a place to put people, not even get rehab or get better. But we have to start thinking, how are we going to use that for society and make it a safety net for those individuals who need it? If you don't have the support, if we don't have that support from government, from industry, from business people, and from society, we're going to be, all of us in the long run, in trouble.
Now, what's the path forward? Is it simply a matter of funding?
I think it's attitude. I think that certainly funding can play a role, but my simple calculations, I'm not an accountant or a CPA or a government person, but I think there is a path to this. We just have to figure out how we're going to do it and start putting in the numbers, and seeing how they add up. I look at the waste that we have in terms of what we're doing already in nursing homes and how we're doing it and how we're doing it with hospitals as well. There are ways to smooth this out and make this better, but it takes a concerted effort. It takes an awareness from people in government who are making these laws. So we have to start engaging them and talking to them, and not for ourselves, not through medical organizations, but for the people to say, we're doing this on behalf of older adults in our country. And when we take this awareness and put it in the forefront, I think we'll have a better advantage and ability to be able to make the changes that we need. But I think 25 years from now, Kevin, it's going to be totally different. I think somebody is going to say, hey, this is what needed to be done, and we did it. But right now we're in that learning curve and trying to figure out how are we going to do this. But it's going to take a lot of us to be able to put our minds into it.
We're talking to Gene Dorio. He's an internal medicine physician, and he wrote the KevinMD article, The Nursing Home Crucible. Gene, like you, I'm an internal medicine primary care physician. Is there anything that physicians like us can do in the exam room on an outpatient setting to prevent people from going to nursing homes? Because as you mentioned earlier, the best place to care for patients are at their homes.
Absolutely. And I honestly think our listeners, our medical students really should consider the possibility of doing house calls. They need to see how individuals live. They need to understand what they're up against. I saw a patient yesterday who had abdominal pain, couldn't stand up and walk, and he wanted to get to the office, but he couldn't get it. So I went and did a house call and assessed him, and something I think is going on. I don't know what it is, but he would never have been able to make it to the doctor's office and would have had to utilize the emergency room, which costs much more money. And he was trying to avoid that. So my presence as a house call doctor made a difference. I have that expertise in doing house calls for all these years, but I think that needs to come back now. I think you are very independent. You make your medical decisions. The only thing we don't have with house calls is we don't have the tools, all the tools. Here, I've demanded that we get dental work, and I've had a dentist actually do a house call. I had an orthopedist go and see a patient without doing an x-ray to do an exam to determine whether it was a hip or the knee. I mean, we have to start doing this and saying, this is what needs to be done, reimbursing those doctors who want to do it. But to me, it's a great location other than just in the office. When I first opened my practice, I devoted 1 day to house calls. And then it became 2 days. Then it became 3 days. And unfortunately, those who were disabled and those who were immobile started to mount up. And it's still mounting up with this generation now, not just the greatest generation, but now the baby boom generation. They're multiplying very quickly. House calls and independence in practice is key. So if anybody's interested, for free, I will give them advice on how they can do house calls to better their community and better the people, and preventing them in the long run from being admitted to the hospital. So we can do this. We just have to have the right attitude. And I know there are countries around the world that are where doctors are doing house calls. We have to look at them, look at what some doctors like myself have done in house calls, and bring that back into the vogue to decrease hospitalizations, improve the care, and get people back on their feet to have quality of life.
And my final question, what's your take-home message that you want to leave with the KevinMD audience?
I think it's never give up. I think that, we are facing a clear-cut change in medicine and an attitude that's out there. There's an onslaught of insurance companies and government making medical decisions for us when we're the educated ones. So I say, don't worry, because in the long run, you will make the right decisions. The question will have to be, will you get frustrated by somebody else usurping your opinion and moving it in a different direction? But I say, don't give up on that, because there are ways, and I tell you, I've learned because of the writing, when I've been denied like a procedure, I've taken in my writing and been able to change a person's mind through the correct background of educating that person, or sometimes, hate to say it, also saying legally you're irresponsible. So there are tools and ideas and ways of being able to move everything in the right direction. But we're going to all run into that frustration, Kevin, in our practice. But I say, don't give up. Keep fighting back. And if all of us do it, and with your platform like you're doing now, giving ideas to everybody else how we can utilize the system better for our patients.
Gene, thank you so much for sharing your time and insight. And thanks again for being on the show.
You're very welcome, Kevin. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.